Welcome everyone to our presentation on how to accelerate SAP Security. We're delighted to have you as an audience today. Just a little note on housekeeping. I need to inform you that we will be recording this session, and this recording will be available to you to use at your leisure after the presentation. Also, we would be delighted to hear your or see your questions. So there is a question panel. Please feel free to post your questions. If we have time to address them during the presentation, we'll do so. And if not, we will respond individually to you afterwards. So that being said, quick introductions. My name is Elizabeth Murphy. I head sales here at Security Bridge, and I am delighted today to be joined by a transformational SAP cybersecurity leader, Stéphane Pétias, who is with the global pharmaceutical company Sanofi. And Stéphane is going to be presenting his vast experience of deploying cybersecurity across a very substantial SAP landscape. And we're also joined today with Ivan Mans, who is our CTO, and Ivan will be presenting the Security Bridge platform and looking into the technology in more detail and presenting how the technology actually works. So with that being said, I'm delighted to hand you over to Stéphane to share his presentation with us. Thank you, Stéphane.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Hi, everyone. So I will start by a short presentation. So I am Stéphane Pétias. I'm part of Sanofi company working on SAP for more than 20 years from now on several topics, all linked to SAP. Since some years, I am now responsible of the cybersecurity topic related to SAP application for Sanofi. So as an introduction, I will give you some insight on related to Sanofi. So I suppose you all know Sanofi. Sanofi is a worldwide pharmaceutical company that is today part of the top 10 of the pharmaceutical company in the world, based on 2019 revenue. Sanofi is part of the top 3 in Europe. So I will not go into detail about Sanofi history today because it's not the topic of the day, but I just wanted to provide you some figures in order to give you some insight related to the direct impact of Sanofi figures on SAP landscape. So as you can see in this slide, in fact, Sanofi is present in more than 100 countries. We have more than 100,000 employees all around the world. We have 73 manufacturing sites located in more than 30 countries. As I said, 100,000 employees. Today, approximately 1/3 of them has a direct access to SAP. So I am not talking about people that are creating, for example, purchase requests with satellite application, but here it's clearly 1/3 of them that are accessing SAP on a daily basis. So what are the challenges for Sanofi today? So there are two main ones. The first one, as you can see there, is related to the complex SAP landscape we have to manage. Today, as it is written, we have a significant number of SAP landscape at Sanofi. On SAP is supporting critical assets on critical processes for Sanofi. We have many systems dealing with finance activities, finance controlling, dealing with manufacturing. We have some of our production sites that are running SAP for manufacturing activities. We have supply chain with some distribution centers using SAP, like WM, for example. We have commercial processes, HR processes with payroll and so on. At the end, it is representing more than 150 SAP landscape. So here I'm talking about production landscape. as you all know, behind one landscape, you have more than one system because you have to deal with sandboxes, development, consolidation, pre-production environment. So 150 production system, but finally more than 400, between 400 and 500 SIDs to be managed centrally. Another difficulty of this complex landscape is related to the different technology we have to deal with on the different version. We have some systems that are running some version of SAP that are quite old due to inheritances in the context of merger on acquisition. We have several technologies to be followed, like ABAP, Java, HANA, but we have also several systems running on different OS. We have HP UX, we have IBM AX, we have Linux, so several complexities added to this landscape. And we have also several different versions of SAP running at Sanofi today. We have ECC6 system, and we have also in the last deployment some S4HANA system that are used. So very large panel of system in terms of version, in terms of technologies, and so on. And last point, because it has a direct impact on the team, we have to coordinate in order to keep all those systems secure, is related to the different data centers that are used today to support our SAP assets. So for sure, we have on-premise system. So at Sanofi today, we have more than 5 different NGDC, so one in Europe, one in Asia, one in North America, Latin America, and so on. And we have started also to host some SAP system outside Sanofi data centers. So we have some system running at AWS in private cloud, but we have also some external hosters that are managing SAP system for Sanofi in some countries. So this is the first challenge related to this landscape complexity. And the second one is related to the size of the team that is dealing with cybersecurity topic around SAP. So today we are only 2 people at Sanofi who are dealing with all these cybersecurity activities. For sure, every SAP platform is managed by application teams. So we have dedicated application owners, we have dedicated security contacts in every SAP application, but we are 2 people centrally to support those teams in order to ensure the security of their application. So we are providing monitoring solution on Security Bridge is part of the tool that is deployed by cybersecurity team and that is provided to application owners. We are coordinating all the remediation actions that are executed on the system, and we are ensuring the compliance of every system. But we are also securing all the SAP projects. So we are part of every new rollout in order to validate the technical infrastructure, in order to validate the architecture that is used for the interfaces, for example, in order to ensure that SAP assets are well secured within the different processes that are implemented on our project. So what are the main way to support those challenges? What are the advantages we have found in Security Bridge? So the first one is linked to the solution itself. So today we have within Security Bridge an all-in-one solution that is covering all our requirements in terms of cybersecurity. So we have a dedicated module that is related to security and compliance monitoring. So we have the possibility within this tool to define our Sanofi internal security baseline. And we are able centrally to analyze and to ensure that our SAP system are conform to this security baseline. We have some functionalities available within the tool in order to extract all those results. And we at Sanofi are running a global database where we are loading all the data for all our application. And Sanofi SAP is part of this extraction. So all the findings we have in Security Bridge are extracted and pushed to this global database in order to automate our dashboard and reporting related to compliance. We have a second module, I will say, within Security Bridge, which is related to event monitoring. So the first one was more static. The second one is more dynamic. So we are receiving in Security Bridge in real time all the security events coming from all our SAP system. On this module is integrated with our CIEM, which is IBM QRadar. So all the critical security events that are triggered in Security Bridge, they are automatically pushed to SOC in order to analyze the result. And there are also complementary applications like patch management. So within Security Bridge, we are able to ensure that all the new security nodes that are coming from SAP are correctly implemented in our SAP system. Last point related to ABAP code review. So within Security Bridge, there is also a dedicated application that allows us to ensure that there are no vulnerabilities within the ABAP code that is developed by our partners. So today we are not managing internally the ABAP development at Sanofi, but we are working with several external partners, and we are using this tool in order to ensure that the programs that are moved to production are well secured in terms of security. Last important point is linked to the rollout process. It was a strong requirement for us, which was to limit the action on the satellite, because as I said before, we have a very large landscape. So in order to ensure to be able to deploy the solution in a very short period, we were really willing to have limited action on all our SAP agents. Last point I wanted to highlight today is the expected benefits we have related to Security Bridge. So the first one is related to the coverage. As I said, at Sanofi, we are running several different technologies. We are running several different versions. So we were looking for a solution that were able to cover all that topic. And it also includes some technical components we are using actually at Sanofi as SAP router and SAP web dispatcher. Those technical components, they are also monitored through Security Bridge. So we have 100% of our SAP assets that are covered by the tool. We were also interested in cross-system analysis. When you have so many systems to manage, it's really useful to have such tool that allow you to check users centrally, that allow you to check profile parameters centrally. If you want to know what is the value used for a dedicated profile parameter, you can execute the check in Security Bridge, and you get automatically the value in all the systems that are connected to Security Bridge. So it's very useful. On the last point, also related to RFC, as soon as all your systems are connected to Security Bridge, you have the capability to analyze all the RFC connections that are defined across the system in order to be able, for example, to highlight all the connections from a non-production environment to a production environment, which is also which can be an issue in terms of vulnerability. Last point for today, the integration capabilities of the tool was also important for us. As I said, integration with our CIEM, which is a QRadar. We have an integration with ServiceNow, which is the ticketing tool used by Sanofi. in order to manage maintenance activities, for example. We have integration with Splunk. All the events that we have in Security Bridge, they are pushed to Splunk in order to be able to manage further analysis, like forensic analysis. On the last point related to reporting, as I said, we have the capability through API to extract all the results from the tool and to push it in our internal database. Well, I think that's it. It was just a global overview. So I give you the floor back, Elisabeth.
Stefan, thank you so much. That was incredibly insightful, and I'm sure our audience today found that very enlightening. As you say, you have a very challenging landscape. You are required to get speed to security, and we are delighted to be a partner with you to enable that acceleration to security. So with that said, thank you so much. I would like to now hand you over to Ivan Mans, our CTO, who's going to explain a little bit more in technical detail how we actually achieve this. Thank you, Ivan.
No, thank you as well, Elisabeth, and many thanks, Stefan, because I think your use case is actually, a brilliant testimonial to how a very large landscape with hundreds of systems can actually be perfectly managed with just a limited number of resources, and resources which are always scarce. Now, the topic of today was, how to accelerate SAP security, and maybe first and foremost, to not seek perfection. Because, I'm using the quote from Voltaire, which one of my colleagues just recently, told me about, is perfection is the enemy of good, and perfection in the sense of our security is a very dangerous item, because starting may be the hardest part. Now, we very often see organizations struggle with, setting the right focus. More time is spent on organizational discussions on how to tackle security, who's responsible, the continuous shifting of priorities. And it would be far better to actually just get going, and instead of getting lost in talking about all those details. And the reason I'm saying so is because getting started is actually not that hard. And where do you typically get started? You start with assessing how secure you are today. And that can also be done without a lengthy project. And very soon we're going to actually jump onto an actual test lab. Now we're going to have a look on the application, which also Stefan shortly spoke about, the security compliance dashboard. Now, once you know your main issues that you may have in your system, then you also know exactly on where to focus and where to assign priorities. Now, the second topic I would like to shortly speak about is check, improve, and repeat. Now, securing SAP is not just a project. Now, exceptions there are, of course, when we talk about security mitigation and remediation initiatives, but secure thinking, secure design, secure development, that's a true mindset which should become embedded into your daily operations when running, business critical processes using SAP systems and software. Now, you can get started with an assessment. You validate the security posture against a predefined baseline. And we actually also deliver that baseline entirely out of the box. And SAP has been doing a good job. They have the SAP Security Baseline, meanwhile version 2. Also the German SAP user group, the DSAG, they have a very wealthy document that actually explains us on how to properly configure a system. How can you assess on how secure you are? Now, once you have those details, assessed, and then Security Bridge does that by looking and mapping that against multiple areas of responsibility in an SAP system, like you have an SAP basis team, you have a SAP security team, you have an SAP development team. So, and as soon as you have that insight, you also get to know on whom to address what things to. Now, the rhythm of check, improve, and repeat, now that will over time speed up until you grow into a process of continuous security, because that should actually be your end goal. Now, the very last topic before we're going to move from slideware to actual software, or maybe the second to last slide, is I want to talk about that holistic approach and that single pane of glass. Now, Stefan explained shortly, Sanofi has a few hundred systems, but we also got customers that actually just have one system line. Now, even if you've got one system line, you may have a production box that may already be highly secured, but then you also got your acceptance boxes, your pre-production, your development boxes, your sandboxes. So definitely there are a number of systems to always keep an eye on, and our recommendation would always be, do not just focus on a single system. Apply your security initiative across the landscape, because the efforts, whether you monitor one platform or one system versus a few hundred, there is not such a big difference anymore. Now, how do we go about this with Security Bridge? Now, Security Bridge applies a holistic approach towards securing SAP boxes. And with holistic, we mean we focus on multiple dimensions. And those dimensions, let's start off with knowing how secure you are today. That very basic initial assessment, that can be executed without a lengthy project, without a massive budget, but you get an instant insight on where you would need to focus. That would be layer number one. Now, once you know and you start remediating, very quickly you will see that you may have some quick wins, some low-hanging fruits, but they may help to, reduce that overall attack surface that you have. Another capability that a lot of people on the line would also confirm, patching. SAP is doing a tremendously good job. Every second Tuesday of the month, they release patches for well-known vulnerabilities. And then it's up to customers to apply those patches within their system. Now, unfortunately, we see a lot of customers still do not apply patches to the speed that one would actually desire. Now, until the time that you're able to patch your system, Security Bridge will apply what we call virtual patching. And in the SAP space, that would mean, even though you can't yet fix it, we at least give you the insight into, is there a potential exploit of that vulnerability manifesting on your system? Now, SAP remediates vulnerabilities within its own code base, but what about vulnerabilities that you may have in your custom code base? So also there, we are a product-centric vendor, and we very much focus on, building the platform to enable customers to drive their security. And also to us, secure code is of utmost importance. Now, the vast majority of all vulnerabilities in SAP, they will find their root cause in source code. So for that reason, we embed ourselves within SAP Code Inspector, within SAP ATC. So we deliver the means for developers to actually proactively grow into that DevSecOps mentality and way of working. The last capability on this slide, and if we have the time, we will definitely also jump onto the actual test lab, threat detection. Threat detection is where we perform real-time monitoring 24/7 on what all happens in your system. And that's also the only mechanism that will actually give you a little bit of an insight into even the exploits of potential 0 days. Now, combining all those capabilities together, now that provides a holistic approach to securing your landscape. Now, Security Bridge is a platform. You have all these modules, but you don't have to use them all at the same time. So we see customers, they basically start using maybe the instant security compliance dashboard because that gives them the insight into the current state. In addition, they also bring in that real-time monitoring, that threat detection, because that gives you an insight into the unknown unknowns. Good. Now, so far the slideware. So if all goes well, we should have a connection to our demo lab. Just hold on a small second. If all goes well, yep, I don't think we are fully connected. I may have to re-authenticate because we may have a timeout. Now, Security Bridge is an SAP add-on. It's an SAP certified add-on. And what you see is how Security Bridge is looking like when you go for a greenfield implementation. Everything is Fiori-based, which also means that we make use of well-known technology. Also, the UI interface is well known to the majority of SAP users. Now, every single tile on that bottom line, it actually corresponds to a capability within the platform. Again, you don't have to use all of them, but we give you the option to start using as you go. You may want to start off with Security and Compliance Monitor. And maybe let's also deep dive into this very specific app. Now, what this app is doing, this is our security dashboard, and we are able to give you a security rating across every single system that you have. Now, if you look at this at Sanofi, you will have a few hundred systems, but there's an easy search function. You can easily classify them. Now, in our demo lab, we have a HANA environment, we have a Java instance, we have a NetWeaver ABAP Stack 7.3 running on premise, and we have a 7.5 box running on AWS. So, it's a single pane of glass, one central cockpit. As soon as you go into a single application or a single SIT, then you get a security rating for that particular box. We see, for instance, this box here has a rating of around, this is 28%. It is not brilliant. If I would have such ratings in school, I would flunk. Now, unfortunately, this is also how we see it with many customers. When you initially install it, you get a good rating on, where do you have the flaws? Where do you need to start improving? Now, also on the right-hand side, you see that split out by area of responsibility, and that very often matches on how an SAP team or a project is internally structured. Development, basis, security, etc. Now, we can see the rating here on this particular demo box is not very good. Now, we've not done a lot of hardening on this box. And a lot of people may say, security deals a lot with authorizations. I would definitely fight against it. That's not the case. It's a lot broader. Clearly, authorizations remain an important element. Now, if I would deep dive into the authorization topic, we will see we have a number of controls. Now, I just take the very first control. Every single control will have a number of use cases. Now, you can always create your own use cases. You can change your use cases, but it's important. The use cases that we define out of the standard, they are classified within a standard baseline, and that standard baseline is assigned to your system. So this insight you can get rather instantly. You don't have to go through a lengthy configuration. It is install, play, and run. You could also see on the very top that we check against a certain specific baseline. Now, I just take one single control. We have a single finding. We go into this finding, this single control. In this example, we see how many users on this box would have critical authorizations. How we see we got 37 support assignments and so on. Now, this kind of information you get to see for every single system, just through a single run. Now, and let me again deep dive into the same thing. As soon as, this is something that static view is something that also an auditor would start looking at. And they would give you an overview on how many critical authorizations you have, where you got your weak configurations. Is your ACL correct? Do you have services active that should not be active? So the amount of checks is very extensive. That's the static view. But what an auditor may not do is map it against, what really happens on the box. Because, you may have a lot of, critical authorization assignments in your system. These remain theoretical risks. What a security breach does is we also give you the insight into the factual-based alerts. And if we just scroll down a little bit, we see that indeed we had, just recently we had an authorization cover-up on this box. A very specific role has been assigned to a user for a period of 3 minutes in this case. Now, security breach is able to identify those alerts. Well, we're not reinventing the wheel. All the data sources that we have, they are SAP standard data sources. And we do have to compliment SAP. They've done a very good job. They enable customers to actually give or get full insight into what happens into their systems. Now, the difficulty is correlating this. In order to highlight very often very fractioned elements of log sources, you need to combine them, correlate them, and translate them into something that is also humanly understandable. Now, this cockpit only provides you that snapshot. So you at least get an indication on where you need to start that mitigation process. Now, when you go into the security state of your system, now, if you have the in-house capabilities, now you may want to trigger those mitigation processes yourself, because the tool not only talks about identifying the vulnerabilities, now we actually guide you through a guided procedure that will help you to start step-by-step improving. So there's a wealth of documentation behind all these different controls and checks. Now, if you don't have the resources, you don't have the bandwidth. Now, we also work with a global group of partners that are very well skilled in exactly securing SAP systems, and they would also help you in monitoring and in steering all of the security breach capabilities, with a single mission to, improve your security rating, reduce that attack surface. Good. So far, that very static view. Now, when we go into the other capability, the threat detection component, which is also the component that actually communicates in real time to your security operations center, to your SIM platform, to your SOAR platform. It runs on the same config. It monitors the same amount of systems. And we work with a distributed architecture. Every single system will monitor its own. So the major benefit that you have with this is, first of all, it is entirely real time. We can focus on security automation. If something happens, we can, with machine speed, instantly react to a certain finding in order to also minimize risk. The fact that the second benefit of running with a distributed architecture is you don't need additional hardware. So everything is centrally controlled from a central cockpit, but the actual CPU power that one would need to, at Sanofi case, to monitor hundreds of systems is actually fully distributed across the well-spread SAP landscape. Now, in this specific example, in our demo lab, in the last 1 hour, we have 0 very high severity alerts, which is also how it should be. That number should always be 0. If it's not 0, it would give me an instant indication something would be wrong. And that could be something on the external network that we're reading in. There could be something happening directly on the SAP system. Now, if I click on, if I would change the time horizon, we see, yeah, indeed, we do have 13 high severity alerts. So if I would go into those details, very likely, clearly it is a test environment. So, we're not allowed to show actual exploits. But for instance, there is an authorization cover-up. There was a critical permission assigned to someone. And also here you see that I here after the event. Now, it is a very high severity event. Security breach always alerts for events, and there's a lot of things happening in an SAP system. There are thousands, if not millions of events. Some of them are human-driven, some of them are machine-driven. But what security breach does, it identifies a potential event, and then it starts collecting all the context information, because it's only through also understanding the context of a single event. Someone creates a user. Now, users get created all the time. That's not instantly a red alert. But if the user would be created outside of your normal business process, imagine you would use central user admin. That would be your standard process. Now, those events, security breach would very quickly learn that is your standard process. That's not a high severity event anymore. That is just an informational context message. But as soon as a user we see is being injected through, either a SQL inject or through an external exploit script, that would be an anomaly. And so security breach uses its own collected data in order to highlight anomalies happening in your system. As soon as it identifies such an alert, we would map it against the severity rating. Based upon the severity rating, we would also verify, do I need to take automatic action? In this example, we have configured our own test lab too. As soon as someone receives a critical authorization, we instantly put that user under hyperlogging. And hyperlogging would mean that we look, what is that user doing on this box besides what he's supposed to do? So we actually collect the intelligence during the time that the user would have such critical rights. There are many more automated actions possible. If someone would be extracting even data to his laptop, technically we could even isolate the terminal from the network, depending upon the hardware providers that you have external on the network. So it can go very, very far in terms of integration that we have. Now, all the identification capabilities that we have, all these different sensors, now also they come entirely pre-configured, because every single SAP customer, they all have the same challenges. They all need to secure SAP. And if you look on an SAP as a platform, it has many potential attack vectors, but nonetheless, all those attack vectors, to a great extent, they're very similar across the entire SAP customer base. So what we've done is we've actually created sensors that would listen to indications of an attack and then start translating them into actionable alerts. Now, all of these events that we see here, they're also directly being sent in real time to a security operations center. And the fact that we complement these singular alerts into a way so they become also understandable to, to a non-SAP security jig, to a security agent, not knowing anything about SAP, they would still be able to understand the context of an alert. They can jump directly into our knowledge base. They could correlate that with network alerts, with alerts from the database, the operating system, and you actually then get a 360-degree view on securing the entire enterprise. Again, the monitoring capability is a very important capability. If you look into initiating a security initiative, we would always recommend to start off with measuring the current security state, activate that monitoring, because as soon as the monitoring is active, you know what happens. These two combined gives you a great means to start setting certain priorities on where do you start that mitigation process. Our partners will help you in that process. And very often, again, we see a lot of repeating issues. And sometimes with very little effort, you can actually reduce that attack surface to a great extent. Now, you can see we have way more capabilities in here. We today will not have the time to deep dive into each and every one of them. There's maybe just one more I would like to shortly talk about. Patch management. Mentioned it before, SAP releases SAP security notes every second Tuesday of the month. They do a great exercise for that. Those vulnerabilities, they are, actually meanwhile publicly known then, and then it becomes important for customers to actually also apply those patches. Now, patching is no fun job. We all know that, but it needs to be part of the housekeeping. And applying a patch can be a very tedious process because it may not be so easy to really instantly identify, out of these new release SAP security nodes, there may be hot news, but which are the ones, which are the boxes that they will become relevant for? In the example of Sanofi, they got hundreds of systems. That's a truly massive exercise to keep that under continuous control. And therefore, it becomes important to have, the tooling that will allow you to easily identify for which systems are patches relevant. So what we do is we actually, we also have an online library where we collect all the SAP security nodes, just the highlights. We collect also the advisories for it. Now, all of that data we consume and we map that against your systems. Again, same configuration layer. You've got your HANA system, your Java system, and your ABAP systems. And we start matching and we will validate how far you would be behind with patching. Now, we can see now some of the boxes that are entirely unpatched. Now, again, a lot of customers still have it this way. They will still have a number of sandboxes that run entirely unpatched, but sandboxes are also connected to the same network. They are connected to the same Solman system, to the same GRC box. So that interconnectivity always makes it important to always review your entire system line. As soon as you would go into a single system, you could also have a visual on, which are the most important patches for me to apply. Now, but while you go through that process, and you can easily within the tool, you can mark a certain node, you can create an incident for it, you can trigger that implementation process. But until you have implemented a patch, now our threat detection capability would also be upgraded because we release new signatures, every single month shortly after SAP patch day, and we start monitoring, is there a potential exploit of one of those vulnerabilities, even though you've not yet patched? So combining again those different capabilities within a single platform becomes very, very important. Now, there's a lot more in this tool set. It's maybe just one because I still see we still have a few more minutes left. ABAP code vulnerability. Now, a lot of the vulnerabilities that we see within an SAP space, and it is not only for SAP, I think this is for a lot of platforms, source code. Developers still have to grow into that, in that security state of thinking, DevSecOps. They really need to be made responsible. And what we've done with code vulnerability is we integrate within Code Inspector, and we give the developers all the means that within their known IDEs, they can actually mitigate and verify the code before they transport. Transport security, by the way, is also something that is entirely covered by Security Bridge. We won't be able to talk about it today, but you could move into a process where you remediate your code, you enforce that remediation of code before moving it through your landscape. Now, that is basically the continuous proactive approach to it. But in order to start a security project, you probably also want to have a good idea on, how secure are my systems today. So what we also would do with this app is, we trigger an entire code scan on your custom code in order to see where you would have vulnerabilities. And it's a very similar overview. You can see the same systems here, and you would see vulnerabilities by system. So I click on vulnerability, I'll click on a system, and you exactly know what kind of vulnerabilities you have, what's the severity rating, and which are the objects. So now having, again, all those different capabilities combined, now step by step will enable you to grow your security posture. Now, again, still a lot more to it. I still want to leave a little bit of room also for the upcoming webinars that we're going to have. Today, we've shown you the core product. There's a lot more, way more fancy stuff even coming our way. So definitely, do keep on following us in this regard. Good. Now, quickly returning back to our slide deck, and these are the technicalities of working with split screens. To shortly summarize, Security Bridge, central platform, main capabilities fully integrated in SAP, no hardware, fully trusted technology, holistic security, giving you that visibility into multiple different components, multiple different capabilities. It is a true platform. Light speed implementation means you're operational in days, and therefore we say speed is security. Get yourself the insight in order to at least get started, because we see there are still way too many SAP systems running insecure. Elizabeth, I hope I was able to give a very quick run through our capabilities. I hand it over back to you.
Thank you, Ivan. That was a very thorough, if not concise, run through of our capabilities. And as Ivan mentioned, we will be running further webinars where we can go into more technical detail, take a little bit more time. But we are coming up to the end of the presentation now, so we're running out of time a little bit to address any questions you may have raised. We'll be delighted to address those personally, so we will get back to you. Please, it's not too late. Do post your questions. And I think, what we've proven today is that SAP security is challenging. And goodness me, I don't think there's many organizations that have a landscape and a complexity that matches the one that we've heard from today from Stefan at Sanofi. But I think what we've learned also is that with the right partner, the right technology, SAP security can actually be a lot easier than you think. And you can actually achieve speed to security with the right partner and the right technology. And I'd just like to leave you today with a joke I saw on LinkedIn a couple of months ago, and it said SAP security is actually really easy. It's like riding a bike, except the bike is on fire and you're on fire and you're cycling into hell. So I think, for anybody in the audience today that is responsible for SAP security, we understand the challenges and we're here to help. So please do come and visit us, follow us on LinkedIn. We post a lot of technical information and updates. We'd be delighted to hear from you. There are many ways to reach out to us and we encourage you to do so. And with that, I would just like to finally thank you again, Stefan, for a wonderful presentation. Thank you for your time, which I know is precious, and we very much appreciate your insight. And thank you, Ivan, for lending your expertise again to our presentation. And thank you, our audience, for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.